I rode my bike.
There's a TV entertainment show.
All right, thank you all for coming today to our regular Thursday programs, 2 o'clock. A few library announcements first. First, an exciting, y'all are the first to hear this, update on the growth tree. Last night, we went officially under contract to purchase the former elementary building over on Garland. So if you'd like to see this momentum continue, please consider donating to the growth tree, or tell someone you know that maybe can afford it to consider donating to the growth tree. Tonight we have Queen Music Bingo over at Mount Merman at 6 o'clock. Lots of fun. You don't have to know all the songs. We tell you the names of the songs, so it's just a lot of fun. Tomorrow, if you know any littles, we have a special story time at 10 a.m. We don't normally have a Friday story time, but we do have a special story time with Miss Flamingo. And then next week's program is Derek S. I'm not going to try to say it. Doing a presentation. Thank you. Sokolowski.
Yes.
Okay. He is going to talk about, he is hiked to the highest point of every state, mountains. So he's going to come talk about that.
When is it? I'm sorry.
It's next week at 2 o'clock, next Thursday at 2 o'clock. And then we are off the following Thursday because it's obviously Thanksgiving and we're not here. And I hope you're not either. So today we have Dr. Zierk, who so graciously came down from Denver, and we're very excited to have him back. He was a big hit last time. We are recording the program, so please be mindful. There are 2 cameras going, so please be mindful of the cameras if you do have to get up or sneak out. Okay? All right, thank you very much, and I will hand it over.
Thank you so much. I got a great idea about talking about La Vida as the epicenter of, I'm sorry, what did you refer to it as?
Dysfunction.
Dysfunction. Hello, La Vida. I love you guys. I come down every once in a while with my wife, and I developed a relationship with Ashley, so we came down last year to talk about my book, Mind Rules. Who's in control of you or your mind? And she called me up again and says, do you have anything you want to talk about? And I said, sure, always I do. So that's the reason why I'm here today. It's a different topic altogether. And I thought we could have fun today talking about one of the most unfun aspects of the human experience, conflict. We all experience it, but we don't necessarily know how to handle it. So my name is Dr. David Zierk, and I have the pleasure of writing books, having an active clinic as a clinical psychologist, and I'm also a forensic psychologist, so I testify in court all the time on a lot of issues that people have no desire to ever enter, such as high conflict divorce or traumatic brain injuries or trauma. And so I represent some people with some of the worst days of their lives in talking to jurors in plain language, helping them understand the complexity of change. Obviously, attorneys are always going after damages. My job isn't to quantify it as much as to tell the story. Tell the story about happenstance and how it leads to misfortune. So that's what I do as a living. And let's see if all this works. It does. I want to thank Ashley very much for everything that you've done for me today.
Thank you.
I was sharing with her that I'm having the pleasure of writing a book with my son, and it's called Glitch. And so what happens to the mind when it reaches the end of reality? So here I am coming down, totally, I'm equipped, right? I can do everything. And I set up all my equipment, and I thought it through, and there was one connection I didn't think of, the HDMI to whatever. And there I am, glitched. I had no way to connect my amazing computer with all my amazing scholarship to the screen. So Ashley goes, puts on her cape, and comes to my rescue. So thank you very much for that. And that little story will really represent so much of what we're going to be talking about today. So I won't go into this too much, but Mind Rules is a book that I take a lot of pride in. It's really helping people understand how the mind works. And so you can understand how your mind works. And my thought process on all of this was, the light bulb that went off was, our mind is operating on these rules, these implicit rules, these unspoken rules, these rules that no one has introduced us to. But once you know what those rules are, you begin realizing your mind is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Keeping you safe, keeping you strong, keeping you protected so you can enjoy another day on planet Earth. You'll know in my book that the first chapter is, the mind is not relational. The mind doesn't care about other people in your life. You have to. That's the reason why I say, who's in control of you or your mind? So the next thing that's happening is, since I have what I call a motion disorder. If I don't move, I drive the people around me crazy. So this year, I've written this book that's going to be published this next year. It's called Unhappy. Happy or Not, Here I Come. And I started thinking about where am I going to be going with my thought process in publishing the second book. And I began realizing there's a lot of people unhappy. Just generally speaking, unhappy. And then, you know, as I did some of my research, I realized there's a lot of books out there about how to be happy. Well, if these books are so great, how come there's so many people that are unhappy? And I got to thinking about writing a book about happiness is not really what the human brain is hungry for. Because happiness comes and goes, it's transient. We set up our life, we make plans, we engage in it. Hopefully you experience a peak experience and we experience a moment of happiness. And it comes and it goes and it's supposed to. And we go back to a state of complacency or satisfaction with life. And it's really those moments when you're unhappy. People don't know how to navigate those. So that's what that book is all about. Today is a small version of one of my master classes in the idea of reconnecting. So I get the pleasure in my clinic of working with so many different people, from older children to adolescents to adults, of course, couples, families, and they all have one thing in common. They're dealing with what I call an unsolvable problem. Their problem just continues to repeat. It just recycles, and it won't stop, no matter what they do, no matter how smart and gifted that they are. So oftentimes people come to therapy and say, hey, could you help me? I go, and I'm going to be very irreverent for a moment. I said, I would love to help you if therapy worked. They go, what? Well, here's my thought process on therapy. It's wonderful, allows you to get connected with your feelings, maybe gain a broader perspective, maybe even cope now and again with whatever life challenge you have. But what happens if your problem is unsolvable? So I turned my clinic into a learning center. So I say, what are you here to learn today? What do you want to learn? How can I challenge you so you can challenge me? So that kind of softer language really gets, I believe, people to engage. And when I work with adolescents, they always get an incredible expression of relief when I say we're not going to do therapy. It never has worked, never has, never will. I'm being irreverent. But it allows them to engage in saying, okay, we're going to talk about you, your interactions with the world, your perceptions of the world, and how the world is treating you or mistreating you. Trying to give people mastery over the situation. So this masterclass, the shortened version of a masterclass on reconnecting is what I call from entanglements to emergence. I've been doing clinical psychology for a long time. And I began to realize thematically that nearly everyone, probably everyone, I spoke to came into my office with the same underlying problem. They were in a state of conflict. Now we're going to be talking about the different layers of conflict, but they were in conflict. And so I needed to come up with an idea that could help them. And so the idea that I came upon thematically was relationship intelligence. The idea of turning conflict into connection. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. And downstairs, as I was coming up here, visual aid of course, I saw this book and I totally giggled, right? Totally giggled about artificial intelligence. Amazing where our world is going technologically, you know? Keep your fingers crossed, I hope it goes well. But I'm also doing a series, we'll talk about that in a little bit, I'm doing a series about artificial intelligence versus relationship intelligence, game on. Relationship intelligence is the ability to turn conflict into connection, your ability to be authentic, to invite people to be vulnerable around you, and make deep connections. So the people I'm talking to are experiencing some level of disconnection. Disconnection with self, disconnection with an important person in their life. So one of the things I found out is that people are naturally good at connecting. Now people are very selective with who we're going to connect with, right? I might connect with you very naturally. It might take a little bit more effort to connect with you. That's just the way it hums. But we do have the capacity to naturally connect. We also have the incredible ability to disconnect. I've never had to, as a clinical psychologist, teach people how to disconnect. We seem to be naturally very gifted at that. Whether it's shutting down, becoming a person who just goes into cold storage, a person who becomes more filled with rage and more attacking oriented, if you will. They use their anger as a weapon. We're very good, but what we're not good at is reconnecting. So the spark that started relationship intelligence for me was this, what I just said, conflict. Every person I met is in a state of conflict of some kind. So I say to people, so, what brings you in? I already know the answer. I just need you to fill in the blanks for me. What brings you in? And inevitably, they come up to this idea of, I'm in some level of conflict. And sometimes it's even in conflict with their past, unfinished business and the like, having regrets, if you will. But one of the things that's interesting is how we respond to conflict. And like it says up here, many times we're faced with conflict, we either ignore it, avoid it, or lash out. Those are just 3 examples. I'm sure if I did an inventory of the people in the room today, you guys could come up with even the way you do it naturally, how to deal with conflict. But more often than not, it's ineffective, because it doesn't lead to a reconnection. So the concept, the idea of turning conflict into connection is the undergirding of relationship intelligence. So I wanted to get back to the basics, because if you look at this word, relationship intelligence, this phrasing, you have to begin asking yourself, okay, well, let's fractionate it and break it down. What is intelligence? Well, here's a fancy little way of saying it, our capacity for grasping truths, facts, meanings, and connections. There's many other definitions out there of what intelligence are. It's a natural gift that you have. And I think more important than what is intelligence is, what's your intelligence? What are you gifted at? We have people who are musically gifted. We have some people who are mathematically gifted. I've yet to understand some of my sons who are mathematically gifted, because I'm not. But it's their gift. Some people are incredibly intuitive. They can step into a space or a dimension they didn't even know existed. Some people are much more technical. Up in the upper left-hand corner and right-hand corner, you'll see the words crystallized and fluid. Crystallized intelligence is the ability to learn something and not unlearn it. It sticks with you. It's crystallized. Who was president of the United States at the time of the Civil War? I hope many of our thoughts go to Lincoln. Okay, there it is. If that's what showed up, then you have crystallized intelligence around that particular fact. And fluid intelligence. Fluid intelligence is new learning. Learning something new right now and not unlearning it quickly. People with demented conditions, dementia of all kinds, whether it's Alzheimer's, frontotemporal dementia, there's many different kinds of dementia, have what's called a memory first disorder. Oftentimes the memory is the first thing that begins to fail them. I'll give you a quick little example of a person who lacked fluid intelligence, but his crystallized intelligence was off the charts. It was an older gentleman, his wife brought him to me and says, Dr. Zierk, because I'm neuropsychologically trained, could you do a battery of neuropsychological tests and help me understand what's going on in my husband's beautiful brain? So I do the battery of tests, and it was pretty self-evident, but we did the test nonetheless, so I could have kind of greater confidence in what I was about to say to her. I say, well, I have my information, I have my facts, and I want to share that with you, but I want you to share it with me. Give me one story, one anecdote that caused you concern enough for you to bring your husband into me to do some testing. She goes, well, last week he was unloading the dishwasher. He's very good at it. He was in the midstream of unloading the dishwasher, paused, froze, and he forgot instantaneously if he was loading or unloading the dishwasher. Right there, you know there's some short-circuiting going on in the brain. So I gave her the end results of my testing, strengths and weaknesses, and I said, but at the end of the day, what's your ask? Can my husband, who is a top professor at one of the top universities in the Denver metro area, should he stop working? And I said to her, praise be to God, no. His crystallized intelligence is amazing. It'll give you goosebumps, shivers. He knows this field of engineering better than anybody else on campus. We don't want to lose that asset. So keep him teaching for about a year, maybe 18 months. It's fairly rapid progressing. But don't have him take questions at the end of the class. Don't have him go to staff meetings. Don't have him go anywhere where there's new learning involved. That's the difference between fluid and crystallized intelligence. So now that we know, if you will, there's these different type of intelligences, and we all kind of know natively kind of what we're good at, where our strengths are. Then I began asking myself, okay, now we take this word intelligence, and now let's combine it with relationship, the ability to connect. Here's my definition. Our ability to learn and understand how people are connected to, behave toward, and interact with each other. You can do that. I love that. I love that. I mean, that sounds very boastful, but I love the idea of saying, how are people connected to, behave toward, and interact with each other? Every person who comes into my office, every person that I testify for, that's what we're doing. We're trying to understand where you stand on planet Earth and how do you relate or connect to other people around you. We're not solo creatures. We're not meant to be. We're social creatures. So there's my definition of relationship intelligence, but let's put it into action. And when relationship goes into action, I get this, our ability to learn and understand, apply the lessons that conflict has been trying to teach us. There's that word conflict. So I'm combining relationship intelligence with conflict. When your life stops going according to plan. That's conflict. Recently I had a long-standing client of mine who was just going through this sequence of mishaps and misfortunes. He was in a high conflict, never-ending divorce situation, seeking counsel from me about how to handle it both technically in court as well as how do I handle this personally. He was losing, if you will, a lot of access to his 3 kids. And I said, okay, we'll go there. But tell me how dark your world is. And he says, for the first time ever, I can't imagine going on. I don't know why I go on without my kids. So his conflict is deep inside. And once we identified what that conflict was all about, we were able to have an incredible learning conversation. I have no problem people becoming desperate, not knowing what to do, running out of ideas, losing a sense of hope. But the reinstallation of hope is absolutely vital. And it can only be done with a connection with other people, friends, family, therapists, whatever it might be. Find your pot of gold and dig into it. This is a masterclass definition, and it's kind of clunky, but I'll go through it. Our ability, when with others, to tolerate frustration, embrace flexibility, think creatively, take smart risks, remain open to making mistakes, and consider other people's preferences and perspectives. I did this intentionally to overwhelm people, to show you that I have a gift of language, but to show you that sometimes we get lost in our words. Really what it's all about is doing all that while retaining your willingness to be authentic. Without authenticity, everything else is a show. I can pretend to connect with you. There's a concept out there called provisional identity. That's when I meet you and I say, I get it. I've seen your type before. I know the kind of person you need me to be, so I turn into that type of individual. I'm being provisional in order to hopefully get a connection. But I'm losing my sense of authenticity. And you might even detect it. You might kind of go, yeah, I'm a nice guy, but I don't know, there's something about him. There's something about him, I'm not sure. Because without authenticity, I think a lot of people detect it. We feel it. Sometimes people smell it. So, let's talk about what makes you unique. I really do believe we should have a love affair with ourselves. I really do believe that we should take care of ourselves. I really do believe that you should look at your nutrition, your form of exercise, just your environment. I think a lot of people choose to live in La Vida for that very reason. Quality of life. That's what you said, Ashley, right? Something about the stars. I don't know, that's kind of weird. We don't see stars in Denver. But as soon as you said that, I knew you were being authentic. And it was really easy for me to connect with your thought process and to some extent be envious. Something, you know, like, gosh, I can see why you did that. So what makes you unique? So let's talk about ourselves as separate individuals on planet Earth. 1 of 8 billion people. It all starts at the beginning. So when I testify in court, I have to make sense of complexity and simplify it. So I'll say to jurors something like this. I'm going to tell you a story about this person who's gone through a really bad day over here. Let's say it's a traumatic event. We'll spend time on that index event. I want to tell you the rest of this person's story. Because if you understand the backstory, the gentleman in the rest of the story, who did that? Paul Harvey.
Yeah.
Paul Harvey would say, hey, I'll tell you about this, but before I tell you about this, let me tell you about the rest of the story. And for that reason, Paul Harvey was always one of my heroes. Incredible storyteller. So we are a combination of the hand you were dealt, genetics, and the luck you had along the way. That's it. Sounds simple. You know, the hand you were dealt, your gender identification, your height, your body type, your eye color, your level of intelligence, no matter what type of intelligence it was. These are all gifts that we were given. It's the hand you were dealt. And then the luck you had along the way. And we're going to talk about that. Because that's the Nature Nurture show. So now we're going to open up the curtain and talk about the origin of you. Because that's basically, I'm going to suggest, that's all we care about. If you take care of you, you can take care of others. But you must take care of yourself first. So let's talk about the origin of you. We've already kind of danced into it. The first part was our genetic gifts, our DNA, and everything else I talked about physiologically, about what makes you different. Like, if I compare myself to you, I go, there's a lot of differences. Well, there's supposed to be differences. There's genetic gifts that you were given. Hold on to them, embrace them, enlarge them. Be grateful for them. That's your genetic gifts. But life gets more interesting because we have this thing called our upbringing. Our upbringing. Oh my gosh. This is where fortune and misfortune start hitting the fan. You know, your parents. Did they stay together? Were they attentive? Were they socioeconomically advantaged? Did you have privilege? Your upbringing, your siblings. Let's not even get into that. But it's your upbringing. And it heavily influences us. I like to talk to people about the worst days of their life, and after we get done with it kind of topically, I say, so, okay, guys, tell me about the life lesson that you just learned from that story. It's a beautiful story. Tell me about the life lesson of your misfortune. The life lesson is the idea of what it is that you learned during times you weren't aware that you were being taught. That's a life lesson. If you watched your parents in conflict, we took mental notes. Oh, little self-disclosure. Oh, David might say, it's okay to be abusive towards women. My father was really good at that. But of course it wasn't. And of course, Carol can attest because I've been with her for 35 years. And well, she's the most undivorceable woman you'd ever meet in your life. That's how amazing she is. But we learn the lessons, but then we also have to ask ourselves, is that the lesson I want to learn? Or do I want to prosper from it? And realize that that's the bottom of the barrel type of behavior. I'm not going to go there, no matter how much I'm pushed and how much I'm triggered. Now we also have our relationship history. We go to school. We used to play the high-low game because Carol and I had too many children, and so in the evenings we would have dinner and we'd say, let's talk about high-low. What was your high today? What was your low today? We'd go around the table. I would start. I'd have to moderate it because usually I had got worse lows than everybody else, so I had to like, clean it all up. Boy, I don't want to devastate my kids, right? I got nothing to look forward to in life. So we go around the table, and our youngest son at the time, Eric, he never had a low. Now, the angels in heaven must be singing into Eric's ears. He doesn't have lows. And then Carol and I made the mistake and we sent him to school. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, we started having a relationship history outside of our family context, and he began experiencing lows. You know, like comparative damages. He didn't want to play with me, or whatever it was. A best friend now has a new best friend, and Eric feels rejected or excluded. Or another, most of us share somewhat of a similar age grouping in here. And I remember when I was going to public school back in the day, it was brutal. Remember when grades were posted with our names? Not our social security number, just our names. Gosh, there it is. Ross, always straight A's. David had a few more deviations than that, but that's that whole idea of kind of going, okay, I'm dumb, I'm stupid. I'm not as smart as so many other people in here who are really eclipsing me. Does anybody remember the SRA process, spelling, reading, and arithmetic? Did you guys ever have that methodology shared with you in a box? Anybody? No? In the Illinois school district, we had what's called SRA, spelling, reading, and it was the first attempt at self-paced learning. And it started off adorable and cute with light colors like, pastel yellow and blue and all that, and it started getting deeper and darker colors as the educational material got more and more and more complex. So here David is, doing light yellow and light blues, and when you get done with it, you turn it in and you go back and put it in the box. And then there's Nancy Brown. She's already into magenta. Okay. Not sure what's going on here, but I can connect the dots. I'm not smart. My imagination was taking off. So we have this complexity of our sense of self, formulating our sense of you. Now, of course, we're more complex than this particular thing, but this really is the essence of who we become. That's the origin of you. So the lesson is your past attachments have taught you valuable lessons about what to expect from your relationships, even with yourself. You walk around with it. I was saying to you that, I said it somewhat in passing, that I specialize in helping people with unsolvable problems. First order changes when a person comes to me with a problem and it's immediately fixable. Hey, let's do this. Let's try some new strategy. And they go out and try it and life gets better. Okay, that was a solvable problem. Unsolvable problems when we begin looking at the assumptions that we're making, patterns of our behaviors, and the rules that we're following, even though we didn't know that the rules were already embedded within us. So we have to re-examine that. So that's the kind of conversations that we have. The origin of you. So now let's talk about the origin of conflict, because I want this confluence of relationship intelligence having a head-on collision with conflict. So the origin of conflict, it's really the types of conflict, but there's 3 different types or origins of conflict. There's conflict among us. If I'm up here and I say something off color, something incredibly insensitive, where I thought it was funny, or maybe I come across a little too arrogant, and the connection that we're making doesn't feel genuine and authentic, we have conflict among us. We also have the opportunities to have conflict between us, which is between 2 people. Hey, I thought we were getting along. What happened? And all of a sudden, you can feel the tension. You can feel the disconnection. And you go kind of like, you can go home now. And And then, of course, we have conflict within us. Because if I did something that hurt your feelings, and I didn't do it intentionally, but I hurt them, and oftentimes, probably what I hurt, the feelings that you hurt, are the same feelings that have been hurt before by other people. Because you have a sensitivity to something because of your learning history. I don't know your learning history as well as perhaps I should, but I bumped into one of your triggers. I said something off color, it really bothered you. And what I'm bothering is I'm bothering your past, the things that you've learned. So we have conflict within, because I walk away from that kind of going, oh my gosh, how do I undo that? I really hurt her feelings. I feel really bad about this. I've lost sleep. But I don't know how to handle conflict. So I just go, oh well, I guess there's 8 more billion people on planet Earth. I can go bother. And I walk away from an opportunity to turn conflict into connection. Now that's some really important clause. How to turn conflict into connection. So what causes conflict? I'm going to let something out of the cat out of the bag because I know a gentleman's going to be leaving here soon. Appreciate the heads up. But I don't want him to walk away with something. Other people are going to get this, but I think it's really vital. Underneath every conflict is an unmet need. Period. Underneath every conflict is an unmet need. Always been that way, always will be that way. And one of the greatest antidotes to neutralize conflict is by simply saying, you know, I don't know what I said, but totally something really shifted between you and me. What do you need from me right now? It's tough to say that. It's tough to say that. Anybody have an idea as to why that's tough to say? What do you need right now? Anybody have a guess? What?
She can't need it.
Vulnerability.
Yeah. Because if I say to you, wait, what do you need from me? I'm setting myself up for possible cataclysmic psychological trauma. You could say, I don't need anything from people like you. Boom, or kaboom. I want to go back to the imagination for just a moment to show you how powerful it is. Imagine going to a dance, you're in the 6th grade, or you're in high school, whatever it is, but you have your eyes on someone. And tonight, you really want to step in and ask that person to dance. You've missed so many opportunities, but your heart pounds and you just can't stop thinking about this person. She really dazzles you. So the dance shows up, I'm ready to say, would you dance with me? Would you like to dance? Something as simple and innocent as that. But as soon as I begin stepping in your direction, my imagination starts going, David, you know what's going to happen, don't you? You're going to go up there and you're going to say, would you like to dance? And she's going to say, I'd love to dance with anyone but you. Now, I walk away from that because my imagination is so powerful. It's entranced me. It's replaced my sense of reality. I go home, my mom asks me how the dance was. I said, they're all terrible. But what happened is I went home feeling rejected, even though no rejection ever took place. And when you start doing that, setting yourself up for missed opportunities to connect, take a chance, be vulnerable, we miss opportunities to turn conflict into connection. Because the inside connection, the conflict that I have is I think I'm like dating up to ask you to dance. Still, go for it, David. Kind of like we're talking about stepping into your anxiety. Just ask her. Worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to happen. But more often than not, people aren't nakedly brutal. They say, I'd love to dance. I do have a broken leg though, so we're going to hobble. And it's kind of cute and adorable. So what causes conflict? This is going to be really interesting because what I did is I identified 4 primary factors that explain conflict. There's our past. And everybody in this room, even if you're identical twins, have different pasts. You might have similar parents, but you have different parental experiences and interactions and transactions with those people. So we all have our pasts. And one of the things that I found that makes couples therapy so challenging is the couple who's decided to couple. Okay, true story. Yesterday I'm talking to one of my clients. She's 21 years of age, living on her own, found her freedom, feels really good. She's got a great job, she's an amazing young woman, she's kind of disenfranchised herself from some negative family dynamics. Got it, she's breathing easily, feels good about herself, stepping into self-pride. She's dating a guy. Randy. Randy seems like a really good guy. I haven't spoken with her for a while, so I need to get some background information. How long have you and Randy known each other? 4 months. Okay. You're at the beginning stage. Got it. First season of dating, if you will. Why'd you bring him up? He keeps pressuring me to move in together. Being an amazing world-class psychologist, I asked, oh, when is his lease up? Because I'm a man, and I'm really good at thinking like a man. And sure enough, it's up in February. Now, I'm not blaming Randy. Step into it, be honest about it. Your lease is up, and hey, we have an incredible connection. Maybe we could pool our resources and live happily ever after. But I cautioned my client. I said, first off, you have to ask yourself, what are the chances that you're going to live happily ever after knowing a man for only 4 months? What are the chances? Then I also said, just check in with your intuition. I know you really well. You've given me a really good understanding. You have a gut, a powerful gut sensation, and a very primal sense of intelligence. She goes, I'm not ready. Now, of course, being a great psychologist, I said, what? I'm not ready. There's something, I have a hearing aid. There must be something wrong with my hearing. Please, for the last time, tell me. Tell me in such a way that you'll never forget it. I'm not ready. For what? To move in with Randy. Even though you have strong feelings for him, right? Right. Okay, girlfriend. This is good. This is great. This is your truth, your deep truth. So I'm not trying to talk her out of it. I'm trying to talk her into what her wisdom is, what her truth is. The past. We can talk about each other's past, but please just trust me when I say there's a lot of couples out there who fight about the past. And where the past becomes really present is when we make the mistake of having fun, of having children. Because when we start having children, sometimes then children misbehave. And when our children begin misbehaving, guess what? That's when we have to parent, the verb, not the noun. We have to begin parenting. And guess what? My past says, suck it up, buttercup. And your past might say, no. Let's be warm and accepting and nurturing and supportive and help this person gently through what's going on right now. Okay, different parenting styles. But really what's happening there is the different reflections on each other's past. Because what's contained within our past are experiences of drama. You can probably think about what the next word's going to be because it totally rhymes with drama. Trauma. This is when the existential rug gets pulled out from under us. When our existence is called into question because of the way we are horrifically treated. Trauma. And then lastly is deeply embedded values. Deeply embedded values are the things that you identify as being most important. And what's most important to you was gifted to you because of your experience with your past. But what's most important to you can be very different than what's most important to you from your life partnership perspective. So let's move on from our past. There's passions. Wow, that seems like a pretty innocent word. Well, what's interesting about our passions is they are rooted in conflict. We might have different lifestyle options. Some of us might like to climb all 14ers. And some of us say, that guy's nuts. Right? That guy's just, what's going on? Clearly he's outdoorsy, and here's this guy who loves to be indoorsy, and writing these silly things, and that guy who's out doing 14ers would go, this guy is nuts. Welcome to the wonderful world of differences. And you can see why in relationships, not just partnerships, but in relationships, there can be conflict. Because one of the things is we have lifestyle differences. Families and friends, I'm probably self-evident, but I know a lot of people who, recently I was talking to a person and they say, well, I've never told this to my husband, but I don't like his friends. I said, well, that's a powerful blanketed statement. Are there any ones that you tolerate? He said, no, I really don't like them. Now the reason, the backstory, of course, is because he's a follower, so he follows them into dangerous situations, over drinking and the like. So the friends represent the antithesis of her deeply embedded values. Clean living. Families and friends, and then money. Ah, that's a passion. What's interesting about money, which is probably the second or third most important, most popular and frequent reason relationships end, is because we attach something to money, and that's security. Money represents security now, so bad things don't happen tomorrow. I feel secure. That's the illusion. I mean, it's nice to have money in the bank, don't get me wrong. I'm not asking people to plunder their savings. But you can see why money can be the root source of much conflict in relationships. There's another one, pet peeves. Carol and I were just talking about this on the way up, down here. Let's do a pet peeve inventory. Give you an example of one. Yeah. I had a guy, oh my gosh, here we are, studiously in this small group in our doctoral training program, and there's my guy, Bob. Okay. I'm really good. My background taught me to tolerate intolerable behavior. Bad habit. Think about it. What should I do? Should I move away? I can still hear it. I'm zoning into it. Overly hyper-focused on this. Oh my God. What should I do? What should I do? Should I go talk to the teacher? What should I do? What should I do? This is what I did. Bob and I ended up being colleagues. I said to him, sitting next to him at this table, Bob, what are you doing? Pause, froze. Anybody else know why I said that? It was just a group of 8 of us. We knew each other. Anybody else know? Yeah! Tell Bob to stop clicking that damn pen. So now all of a sudden, we piled on, right? But in good humor, I got through to him. We're going to come back to that just in a little bit as to why that's critically important. Because my friend, my future colleague, Bob, he lacks something very vital when it comes to relationship intelligence. And he needed to learn that in order to become a more effective, more competent, capable, and change-oriented therapist. Clicking pens, being late, dishes left in the sink. Pet peeve inventory time. Please chime in. Anybody have a pet peeve you'd like to share with the group?
Chewing gum.
Tell me more.
Leaving messes.
Toilet paper on upside down.
Inside out.
Slamming the car door very loud.
Not filling the tank. And I mean that metaphorically and
What's so fascinating about these pet peeves is when we say them out loud, it seems so trivial and little, but they can really be game changers in relationships. I've had couples who, the person just comes home and just drops everything, pretty much. Shoes and socks, whatever, just kind of litters. But when I tell you she was tidy, that's a nice word. She was obsessively well organized, and praise be to God, she was marvelous at her accountancy job because she was so attentive to detail. But that was going to end the relationship. That was going to end the relationship. And what's interesting about it, I'm not here to put anyone down when it comes to other people who are authors. But Love Languages doesn't address that. Love Languages is a wonderful book. It's foundational. It's important. It starts a really great conversation with people. But there's so many other things that disunite people that we have to have learning conversations around. Pat Peeves, thanks for the inventory. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hope the Zoom goes well.
What's that?
I hope your Zoom session goes well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Take care.
it's a business meeting.
Okay. You're so cute because he came up to me earlier, he goes, I'm going to run out on you. Because I don't anticipate it'll be very good. He didn't say the last one. That's what I was thinking.
He could have, but he would.
Those pet peeves. And then the last one is the conflict personality. The conflict personality deserves a definition. So it has to do with the version of you that shows up when others are letting you down and putting you down. It's the person that we become. When life goes according to plan, I don't know, can I buy you a beer? There's no conflict in the room. We have a nice connection. Let's go celebrate. Let's have a beer. Take a walk. But when my connection with you breaks down suddenly, because perhaps you disrespected me or disabused me something and you activated a piece of my past that you had no intention of doing, but you weren't aware of it, and I went to a really dark or hollow place, my conflict personality shows up. I stop calling. I avoid your text messages. Why? Because he's one of them. I went to grade school, and middle school, and high school with people like him. I thought you weren't going to be like them, but sure enough, there you are. You're them. Anyway, my conflict personality shows up. When I have conflict within, our personality alters. It just does. And the thing that's interesting about our conflict personality, it represents our most unlovable version of ourselves. I can prove it, because it's the part of you that you don't enjoy. It's our most unlovable version. So what I do in my therapy, in our learning center, is we personify it. We have fun with it. Like, my conflict personality's name is George. That's my dad's name. When I begin acting like the person that I never want to replicate, but he taught me well. He taught me well. Yeah, that's it. Use a louder voice with greater authoritative angst to get your children to do what you need to do. You didn't like it then? Why am I doing it now? I have to become aware of George. I have to begin emotionally regulating George. I have to tell George to sit down, let David show up. That's the conflict personality. Conflict personality is fascinating because of the idea that where it comes from is, there's your person, under stress, creates a personality. That's where personality comes from. It's your response to stress. Interesting. Now, one of the things that's fascinating about it is, why did I put a circle around the person? If, I can put it this way, I have technology, huh? If this stress is positive, uplifting, favorable, my personality becomes charming. I become grateful and compassionate and generous. I become that guy. Can't get enough of them. But when my person meets unwanted stress, negative stress, darkened stress, abusive stress, traumatic stress, my personality doesn't go charming. It goes into self-protection mode. I might become avoidant. I might become assaultive. I might become a lot of things. But what I'm not going to turn into is likable and relatable. That's the function of and the potency of the conflict personality. Time has come for you to take charge of your conflict personality, enabling you to turn conflict into connection. So you can see, hopefully, that the dialogue that we have in our learning centers is really cool. Hey, I always tell people, you have a fascinating life story, but I'm bored. Don't tell it to me again. I've taken notes, promise you. I got it, I got the gist. What I'm going to be paying attention to is when we're talking, you alter. Something shifts inside of you. Then I'm going to know that a piece of your unwanted past just shows up. When that piece of your past comes into the present, that's what we're going to focus on. I don't need to hear any more stories about how delightful you are because your parents provide you unconditional love and they were supportive and encouraging and great gift that you received. The hand you were dealt and the luck you had along the way. We're here to talk about that piece of your past that just came back and you altered. You guys know what I mean when I say altered? Like emotionally, we just, yeah, we go into a tricky place. We lose control of our thoughts, our emotions, sometimes even our actions. We lose control. So there's the conflict personality, and those are the 4 things that represent the origin of conflict. So let's talk about some basic truths about conflict. Conflict reveals unmet needs. This is what I was sharing with that gentleman before he so rudely departed with such swiftness.
He's known for that.
Conflict reveals unmet needs. Underneath every conflict is an unmet need. It's so important. It's the reason why I put it up number 1. Conflict is an opportunity for learning and relational growth. That's just fascinating. That's how I came up with the idea that turning conflict into connection. Because in conflict is when I really get to know your soul. I get to know your past. I get to know your triggers. I get to know your unfavorables. I get to know about your drama and your trauma. You let me in. Now how I respond to that can really provide an opportunity for learning and relational growth. Because if you let me in, then you've taught me more about what it means about how to love you and how to help you restore yourself because of the conflict. Conflict is emotional, not logical. I have to tell all my linear clients, typically attorneys and engineers, you need to stop that. You need to stop that. So I have these little yellow flags, I guess, bean bags or whatever. And I get 3 of them next to me on my couch. And I say, the next time you go there, I'm hurling this your way. I'm going to teach you experientially that logic got you into this problem and it will not get you out of it. When your wife is upset, she's distraught, she's frustrated beyond belief, and you go, why don't you get another job? You've lost her. You've lost the opportunity to turn conflict into connection. That's not what she's asking for. I've met her. She has the capacity to make really good decisions. She's asking for something different. Conflict is a time to model self-control, not to solve a problem or teach a lesson. A little bit duplicative, but so many times in conflict, we race to fix, solve, and repair. I have no problems with asking people, can I help? But I want you to tell me how I can help. Because you know you better than I know you. So in that state of conflict, and you're kind of going, no, I'm okay. You go, yeah, that wasn't the question. How can I help? It's better to not say, can I help? Yes or no. How can I help? Because help is coming in, whether you like it or not. And here's the thing, even if you stalemate me, you say, no, trust me, I'm okay. I go, great, I get it. So what I'm going to do is you're forcing me to do a best guess. I'm going to guess what you need from me right now. And I go get you a refreshed cup of tea. Best I got. But I do something in that moment of conflict. And what's really interesting is if I respond to your conflict in a nurturing way, we resonate. A reconnection was born. And to some extent, you say to yourself, this guy gets me. And somewhat, he reminded me that I matter when I wasn't feeling like I mattered. That's really a gift to give other human beings. I get you, and do you matter? I think that's what we're kind of heat-seeking from other people. So we're going to go into these 4 building blocks, and then we're going to open it up to some discussion, and that'll be my presentation for today. Okay, kind of a micro version of a master lesson. I want to talk about the 4 building blocks of relationship intelligence, because now we know what conflict is, where it comes from, how it kind of represents itself, how it shows up quickly, abruptly, unexpectedly, out of the blue. Now we need to kind of understand, what do we do with this? What do we do in these enriched moments of conflict? How do I turn conflict into connection? Because my theory is, I only get to know you and you only get to know me if we then navigate this moment of conflict. I remember a long time ago, I don't play golf. Long time ago I did though. And a guy named Miles, who's my brother's friend, hits it off, tees off, it doesn't go well. Again. Miles proceeds to take his club and throws it into a lake close by. Miles is not having a good day. So David, being a man, a yet to be evolved man, said to Miles, as we're going to the next tee, you want to tee off for the women's team? I broke something really vital within him. I had no idea the turf I was standing on. Boy, that hurt really bad. Building block number one is trust. Trust is the bedrock of relationships, reputation, and everything that matters. And here's trust. I call it square one. When you have a relationship with a person, whether it's a sibling, parent, partner, children, and there's really good, solidified, well-established, and well-earned trust with each other. And then you have this entanglement, something going on. I like to say, I'll tell you what. Hey, Michelle. I say, all right, Michelle. Things aren't going well right now. Right now. Let's go back to square one. Now, when I say that to my Michelle, I'm saying, let's go back to square one. I'm saying to her, you can trust me. I love you now and forever. Always have, always will. But right now, girlfriend, you drive me crazy. Let's go back to square one. You have to have square one. Not to be disrespectful about some historical events, but I always tell people if you don't have a square one and then conflict emerges, we go to ground zero. Not a good place for a relationship to be restored. Square one. So my thought process on this is trust is not optional. I never ever work with people, especially couples or families, and start talking until I've done a measurement of trust. To what extent do people trust each other in this room? What's fascinating about it is because I tell people, quintessentially, lots of people come to me in couples therapy and they say, we need to work on communication skills. And I say to them, probably not. My guess is you guys are talking too much. You're oversharing. Timing is off. I don't think communication is your problem. I don't think you guys are connected. I don't think you guys trust each other right now. You're not connected. My theory is if you try to communicate in order to connect, it doesn't happen, never has, never will. I mean, look what's happened in Gaza. It's just as an axiomatic example. People try to communicate in order to connect, it doesn't work. You have to connect in order to communicate. The only way to connect is by going back and reestablishing some firm ground, some shared ground, and I should call that shared ground trust. So let's do something real fun here. So, Carol, could you help me here? There's just a sheet here. I don't have any implement to write things on. You guys can do that at home. But what I've done is, I say up here about trust. Trust is the bedrock of relationship, reputation, and everything that matters. And you'll see what I've done is kind of a factor analysis. Okay, let's take this word trust and break it down. There's basic trust. Do I trust the world? Do I trust myself? How much am I trusting of others? Am I worthy of others' trust? So you can see I tried having fun with this word trust. Basic trust, self-trust. Trusting, trustworthy. Now, as you guys kind of just visually go through that, kind of pick a number that perhaps best represents your answers to each one of these factors. I want to get to the last one. And the last one is what I call depth of trust. Who taught you? Who taught you to trust? Who taught you self-trust? Who taught you to be trustworthy? You can see, like in couples, it happens in in corporate relationships too. When trust is not discussed, not openly shared, not made a point of reference, there's some people that trust so easily. You know, there's people who go, I'll trust you until I can't. That's stepping into the relationship differently than the person who says, I'll trust you when you earn it. So we have these two different stances. And what's keeping us apart is we have not had a really good learning conversation about trust. Who would like to share about depth of trust? In terms of your relationship with trust, as factored and analyzed by all of this, who is one of your primary models or teachers of trust? Who would like to offer anything today?
My current husband, my second and current husband,
What's the difference, can I ask?
difference between him and,
Everybody else?
well, he hasn't violated the trust that I have in him. He doesn't say one thing and do another.
Because there was something about your previous life experiences.
Yeah.
You've had some people in your life who crossed that line.
Right.
Got it. And you see, by virtue of him not crossing that line and continuing not to cross that line, something very magical is happening inside of you. Your trust in him is growing. It's a nice experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being with someone that you can trust. You'd be surprised how few people actually have such people in their lives. I trust them to a point. Right? I trust them. Yeah, I can go hiking with them, but I don't trust them enough to lend them money. On and on. Anybody else? That was beautiful, thank you. Anybody else would like to share depth of trust, person, and perhaps a story? Carol, do you have something? No?
I trust animals.
Oh.
Animals I've had in my life.
That's great. That's a good segue. Thank you for, I apologize for not kind of excluding that piece of it. That's really super important. Has it always been that way, or did that kind of
It
mature?
evolved
It evolved.
with the animals that I had, and I learned from them, and they learned from me.
I had people who come to me and they say, David, could you write me a note as my psychologist and verify that I need an emotional support animal? And I go, you don't. What do you mean? We all do. Whether it's a cat or a dog, I'm not trying to be prejudicial. But the reason oftentimes, except they're guard dogs and like that, they have high function, is that we have an emotional attachment to it. Right, Stella? We have an emotional attachment to these animals who give us the gift of their presence, who give us the gift of their attention, affection. It gives the root of everything. That's good. I'm glad you brought that up. I believe that there's 5 things that we need, want, desire, and deserve more than anything else on planet Earth that we can't give ourselves. Attention, affection, acknowledgement, approval, and applause.
Why
And
can't
animals.
we give that to ourselves?
We
We
really
can
have to give
give
that to
that
ourselves. You can give yourself attention?
Yeah.
Okay, well then you've moved into self-validation, so congratulations. Well, I'm not saying anything above and beyond just responding to what you said, but that's impressive. That's impressive that if you're able to do that. Most people really crave validation from external sources.
Well, I'd say I do it occasionally. I don't do it 100%.
Okay. But those are the 5 things that acknowledgement. I can write a book and acknowledge it was good. But if the people around me acknowledge it differently, with applause perhaps, or just saying, David, I've read your book a couple of times. Okay, there's a depth of affirmation there that I can't give myself. That my craft impacted that other person. You know, being a creative person such as yourself, you know that. That's the importance of trust. Let's keep moving. What's your relationship with trust? Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully it's a growing one. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. It's a growing one with trust. Surrounding ourselves with people that we can trust. And it's not just as easy as binary, like I can trust you, but not you. It's not like that. It's like growing the trust. How can I trust you more? How can we experience deep in truth and trust with each other? Truth is the second one. So we have trust, and now we have truth. You can see why truth follows trust. You have to trust an individual with what? With your truth. I would never, a lot of people make mistakes, myself included, early on in life. I would overshare, I would tell people my truth, and they would disappoint me or hurt me, because I realized I couldn't trust them with my truth. They blabbed, they gossiped. Hey, I really like Donna. Hey, did you know you didn't? Oh my gosh, there goes middle school. Seriously, that's middle school went downhill from there, right? I became so pathologically insecure. Truth likes to play hide and seek, often keeping itself just out of reach and appearing when you least expect it. Truth is fascinating. So here's what I do with truth. Honesty and transparency form the basis of authentic interactions and deep understanding. I think we can kind of appreciate that, honesty and transparency. It's so interesting in politics right now, honesty and transparency is being talked about, but not being exercised, unfortunately. No, I'm not being political here, I'm just saying it's there. Truth, I believe, this is how I teach people. I say, okay, look, you came in, you want to work on communication skills? Got it. Let's work on communication skills. You have 30 seconds? Because I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about communication, and now I'm going to hold you accountable for doing it. There it is. Dialogue, not mine. Dialogue needs to be fair, direct, and timely in that order. Speak, but speak fairly. Because third graders know what it sounds like to be unfair. Right? I'm going to pick teams. You, never you, you. That's unfair. Ah! And Ashley goes to a bad place. See what happens with imagination. And obviously I don't know you very well at all, but even that kind of hypothetical story could trigger something that happened. Because those kinds of make-up things trigger our experiences of being rejected, excluded, or being put down or devalued. Will happen. Here's the thing about truth. So trust comes first, then truth. Truth is shared beliefs, but here's what I do with truth. There's 4 levels. First, there's polite truth. Hey, the Rockies aren't very good at baseball. It's a fact. And we start talking baseball. That's polite truth. Weather sure is nice. That's a fact. A little windy. 12 miles an hour coming out of the west. I love technology. It's a fact. We can talk about weather. But then we go to partial truth. We go a little deeper and we start sharing emotions. Oh my gosh! When are the Rockies going to learn how to play baseball? Like, never! So you can feel like there's a little bit more of me coming out. Because I'm sharing with you the emotional expressions I have. The emotional attachment and frustrations and discouragement, disappointment. I could go on about the Rockies. I sound like I'm a real sports guy. I always watch the last inning of a game so I know what to talk about. Okay. Here's the thing. Because I have a lot of guys who are in sports. So then we go deeper, there's whole truth. Whole truth is when I share my biology and my biography with you. Now, I certainly don't expect everyone to remember everything I'm talking about today, but kind of like the gist of it. Whole truth is when I go, okay, let me just totally put my cards on the table. The reason why I'm so upset with the Rockies, yeah, I grew up in Chicago. Cubs, sucked every single year. Yeah, that's my biography. And we would skip school to catch a train, go to Skokie, catch the L, go to Wrigley Field, spend spend 50 cents to sit in the bleachers, and they'd lose. I really wanted to go to the Sox park, but that was too far south and I knew I'd get murdered. See, I'm just showing biographically, not me. But here's the thing about it. There's one more. The lowest level, the deepest level, the most important level is what I call deep truth. And deep truth is where we begin expressing our vulnerability. We do it in such a way that is mutually validating, and we speak up on behalf of shared values. That's a lot, I get that, that's a lot. But I'm just trying to give everyone an understanding if there's a deep truth. Let's get to our deep truth. And one of my theories about it is once we get to our deep truth, once we share our deep truths, our level of connection becomes kind of like forever connected. We're connected at a deep level. I might share something really that I don't share with other people. If I shared it with you for some reason. Not off the cuff, but during a tender moment. And you said, can I share it with you? I had something just like that happen to me. And now all of a sudden we have kindred spirits, we have like minds. And our connection is based on trauma. Shared trauma. Trauma bonding. I didn't mean to say that in a bad way. Truth. To be truly honest, look deep within yourself. That's really what it all comes down to. But I'm just trying to help you guys understand the modularity of all of this. So we go from trust to truth, now we're going to go to commitment. This is being nurturing and maintaining the relationship by following the laws of mutuality. So I created this concept of the laws of mutuality. Now, if we were doing a full master class, yes, we'd spend the rest of the afternoon talking about the laws of mutuality, because there's 12 of them. One person asked me recently, how come there's only 12? Because I have whiteboards. What's that?
No, I was just laughing that there's only 12.
Yeah. It's like, the reason why I say is because I have a big glass board in my office, and I have whiteboards. And things are all on it. And I go, laws of mutuality right here, all 12 of them. They go, how come only 12? I ran out of room. But the top 3 are the most important. Stand up for yourself without putting other people down. This is a practice skill. It's an art form. Learning to, and this is what discourages me about so much of what's happening in terms of our hot and bothered world right now. There's not enough people that are standing up for themselves without putting other people down. Just a very, very basic construct, but it formulates the very essence of what relationship intelligence is all about. I'm going to stand up for myself, loud and proud, without putting you down. Don't make the situation bigger than it already is. So I'll say to the man in the room, the father of the family that's in front of me, so why are we doing this? He knows about this, by the way. And I go, keep it in here. That's how big the problem is. But as soon as you said, your son is a lazy SOB, boom. You made the problem bigger than it has to be. I should suspend you, expel you, or fire you. Not sure which. Why don't you stick around and learn? But don't do that. But go back again, say what you need to say to your son, but do it more fairly. Because you turn your son off. This is what I do with families when the kids are still verbal, but they're not equipped with a lot of verbalness, courage. So I have these little play, I don't want to say guns, but they're like little laser pistols, whatever. And they make that noise, you know, beep, 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 beep. You load it. Have the son hold it. When your father says something that you don't like, never have, never will, please have the courage to go, ding! Okay. Load it. Dad, keep talking. Well, let me tell you why he's so lazy. This is going to take a while, Dad. This is going to take a while. This is the reason why I'm asking us to do a 4-hour session. This is going to take a while. Be aware of how your behavior impacts others. Dad wasn't aware of how his behavior was impacting others. He was coming at it from a self-righteous standpoint. And I get it. He probably was taught it from his father and his father and his father, whatever. Lineage explains a lot, I get it. Or maybe he's just an impatient soul, or maybe he's really into that fix, solve, or repair mentality. Either way, he has a tendency to invalidate his son in real time. And his son is actually really tired of it. I'm teaching the son how to stand up for himself without putting dad down. I'm going to try to teach dad how to deal with the situation without making it bigger. And I'm also going to try to get the family to be more aware of how each of us are impacting each other. Sometimes in a positive way, sometimes not. Laws of mutuality. There's commitment. Commitment is really nothing more than promises delivered, and I kind of like this because it says, when we start a marriage or something along those lines, we make a proclamation to each other in public and we say, I do, but that's not the point. The real point is, I did. That's what commitment is. I've been married to Carol for 35 years, probably, yes, but I can say I did 35 years. Wasn't always easy, but I did them, and we did it together. Here's a beautiful saying, commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. That's Abraham Lincoln. Commitment is what transforms a promise into a reality. I did. So I say, dedicate yourself to what matters most. I get this privilege to see a lot of people in lots of different situations, and so that my mind doesn't explode, I have to come up with phrases that put kind of behavioral patterns into perspective. One of my favorites is, behavior doesn't lie, people do. And we lie to ourselves all the time. And we lie to others, we shade the truth, whatever it might be. I'm not saying that we're all pathological liars, I'm not saying that. But behavior doesn't lie. Let's go back and look at the behaviors. I might say to the dad, I get sometimes you have a habit of calling your son out on the spot, using what I call really kind of corrosive or hurtful language. I totally get that. But when was the last time you did something nice for your son? When was the last time you connected? Well, I'm pretty busy. Got to pay the rent. Yeah, I get it. That wasn't, you didn't answer the question. The point I'm trying to make is behavior doesn't lie. His dad's, basically his absence from his son's life is really what's missing. So those opportunities for connections are really going to instill their natural abilities to be more authentic with each other. So let's keep going to the last one, reconnection. So reconnection is regularly revisiting and reinforcing the connection. This is reconnection. You'll notice a theme, obviously. Here's the period, here's a period, here's a period. I have so much fun doing a podcast, and it's called Rethink, R-E period think. The R-E stands for relationship enhanced thinking. Think with connection in mind. That's one way to think of it. Let's rethink that. So I take very controversial topics. Let's rethink it. I want to teach the world, if I could. Since I can't teach the world to sing, because I'm not very musical. Teaching the world to rethink. Let's rethink that. And it's a really beautiful phrase. Because I'm teaching couples to be able to say, who are kind of in gridlock with each other, going, I don't know what's going on right now, but let's rethink this. Which means give ourselves a chance to go back to square one. Step back into the situation and say what you really want to say, and do it again, fairly directly and in a timely fashion. See how the pieces kind of fall together, at least in my mind. So here's reconnection, mutuality in action, and that's what it looks like. And what's at the heart of it? You. Just like the reason why I was talking about the origin of you. And as you begin working on putting mutuality in action, you'll start experiencing a union, and then that union gets closer, stronger, more favorable, more trust-based. I always tell people, why? Why should we work on trust and telling the truth and committing ourselves to the promises and delivering on them? Why? It's intimacy. And intimacy is not meant in a sexualized way at all. I mean, intimacy is a really beautiful word that just means connection. Meaningful, authentic, genuine connections. We have an intimate moment. That was an intimate experience. That was an intimate dialogue and discussion. We share something. That was a very intimate moment. And those are the moments they're waiting for. Intimacy. When you shared with me your reason why you came down to La Vida, actually, that was a small but intimate moment. I learned something about you that was very important. Feeling respected and worthy comes from reconnection. So let's bundle this all together. There's 4 building blocks of lasting connection in this order. I hope I've kind of emphasized that enough. And I want to show to you that trust is at the heart of connection. This is like cute and adorable. This is what I do. So you'll see that us, that's the connection, is built within the word trust. And when you do work on that foundationally, that leads to more organic sharing of truth, that brings us magically and mysteriously stronger together in more of a committed fashion. It increases the odds of us experiencing reconnection, sharing mutuality, putting it into action, and experiencing intimacy. Not a bad outcome. So here's the walk away. The reason why I'm in love, by the way, with the infinity sign, which is part of my little logo, is because our growth is never ending. Our relationships are never ending. There's a never ending, there's an infinity quality to us as human beings. And even after our passing, what we leave behind in terms of our legacy is literally never ending. And I just really put emphasis on that. Let's work on being never ending. And that's the reason why I kind of fall totally in love with that infinity sign. Underneath every conflict is an unmet need. Yeah, let's put that in the bank. When in doubt, be present. So obviously I have another whiteboard filled with what I call my life skills. And so I'll say, going back to my hypothetical about dad. 4, look at number 4. When in doubt, be present. What do you mean by that? Being present. You missed this lesson growing up. I mean, shut up. Be present and listen. Step into empathy. Feel what your son is feeling. And even if you don't know how to do that, guess. Is he in a good place, bad place? Be present. Connect before you communicate. We talked about that. You have to connect before you communicate. You can see why in our convoluted, increasingly hostile political world, people are over-communicating. People are not keeping mutuality in mind. So for me, hello, violation of so many different oaths here about relationship intelligence. Here's the thing, I say to people, it's not about being right, it's about getting it right. Please understand the phraseology. It's not about being right. I know your son is lazy. But you have oodles of evidence. But that's not getting it right. Getting it right, what's most important is your connection with your son. Does your son feel like you get him? Does your son think he can count on you as a go-to parent, that when I'm not feeling good, I go to my dad because it makes me feel better? Probably not. Strike 2. People grow slowly. I like this one. So nudge. Don't shout. Don't shout. Don't shout. You know, when I said irreverently that I don't do therapy, I don't think it works, that kind of phraseology, of course, is done in a very playful way. A husband will come to me, he goes, I'm only here because my wife told me to. I know, obviously she's got good taste, and she must have just looked up like the world's greatest psychologist, and here you are, we're in this room together, going to do magic. You're only here because your wife told you to. That's not true. That's not true. There's a deeper truth. Let me help you find that. If I can help you find that deeper truth in 30 minutes, will you commit to meet with 3 more sessions? And do it on your own volition. And you let your wife off the hook and stop using her in an abusive way, as if she's intimidating you and threatening you. People grow slowly. So we can turn conflict into connection. So we can turn conflict into connection. And this is just the last thing, is that when we play this infinite game together, this relationship intelligence, you begin practicing all this kind of stuff that I just shared with you, we get to be stronger together. So, yeah, I get that. Okay, here's what I want to show you. So, I give away a lot. I think a lot, I write a lot, I take controversial topics, I'm provocative and playful, and then other days I'm playful and provocative. So my website is davidzierk.com. There's blogs, there's lots of information out there that hopefully is very, very useful. It's there. I share it with people. I come up with great concepts like connection deficit disorder. People say, oh, I have attention deficit disorder. I go, no, you don't. You have connection deficit disorder. Oh, what's that? Wait a minute, I write about that. Rethink podcast, we talked about that. And then here's a fun thing. If you go to davidzierk.com, there'll be an invite there. You don't have to go to it. There'll be an invitation to be sign up for my newsletter. It's called Refresh. And this is just a newsletter that comes to you, and you can unsubscribe anytime. It's just going to be like what's on my mind. And I try to share things in a very playful, provocative way and get you to kind of like doodle on it and go, ah, that's interesting. Or you might say something like this, Zierk had a good month. Or you might say, yeah. Oh. And then, when I'm just starting out, my youngest son is what I call whiteboard psychology. So my son is videotaping me in one of my rooms with a huge whiteboard. And I'm taking so I create visual models. I probably have 114,000 of them. So I take, every time I talk with a person, I go to the whiteboard and I visualize it. I construct it visually. 70% of us, I think we're very visible learners. There's redundancy there, it's very helpful. So what I'm doing with whiteboard psychology in a YouTube way, just like about 3 minutes, I'm taking a tricky psychological concept and teaching people about that in 3 minutes using my whiteboard. So I'm hoping to have fun with it. So these are my offers to you, my gifts to you guys for coming here today. And I'd like to open it up to any discussion or questions that people might have or thoughts. Yes, please.
I have a question. You didn't mention boundaries. And that's one of the things I think that is important for trust. It's an underpinning of trust. It is to my experience.
Vital. It's absolutely vital. What's interesting about the word boundaries, and thank you for mentioning that, what's interesting about the word boundaries is they're invisible. My boundary is different than your boundaries. I did mention it in saying crossing the line. But I didn't use the technical term. You're absolutely right. Teaching people boundaries, there's a lot to be said about that. And there's a whole section of psychology that's really firmly planted in teaching people how to set their boundaries. But I just call it your line. Where's that line? I teach people the line. Where's the line? I might say to the son, is your dad totally getting close to your line? Or did he step over it? Or did he ignore it? Or he doesn't give a shit about it? What is it? So I'm absolutely on the same page with you. Absolutely. So really good insight.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a little bit about why boundaries for you somehow are really relevant, really important?
Because I started to recognize how insecure my boundaries were with people. And it took me a long time to begin to understand the necessity of having boundaries for myself, to feel good about myself, and also to feel good about other people, and let them in. So I found that the stronger my boundary, I could use my boundary when I needed to, but if I didn't need to, I was much more able to be vulnerable.
That's beautifully said. And I certainly don't know you, so I'm not going to go too far with the conceptualization here at all. But somewhere along the line, someone really did a good job teaching you about being people-pleasing and tolerating intolerable behavior like I was suggesting, or trying to love a person through a problem, or whatever it might be. And there's so much grace with that approach. But it also makes you incredibly vulnerable in relationships. And it sometimes even makes you a target.
Yeah.
And and some people see that and they go, oh my gosh, I have an arrow for that. You know what I mean? And I didn't even point that at you. But it's thank you for sharing that. It's very important. I always like to take concepts such as boundaries and kind of bring it down into a playful language. Because I want my kids or adolescents or even couples, I want them to be able to say, totally, you're getting close to my blue line right now. And it's kind of a playful way of saying it that way. It's kind of like when people get into the same fight, I call it recycling. I'll go something like, oh, we're really good at this. We're recycling. Now someone has been aware of, kind of like a fly on the wall, has noticed this pattern. So instead of getting deeper into our recycling, having the same fight over and over and over again, someone is aware of it, we have a playful name for it, and they can disengage from that, look at us, and kind of giggle. Yeah, we're good at that. And then we try to figure out what's the root of that, what triggered the recycling. Underneath every conflict is an unmet need. Something that you need, something that I need, and we need to get better and more attentive to those deprived needs. And if we do, my guess is, a conflict begins to dissipate. We have less fighting. Or, like I say, okay, now that we've done a good job with that one, let's get on with having new fights. Whatever. And usually when that topic is, it becomes lighter and lighter and lighter. Because I want to teach people how to fight. Now it's a rude way of putting it, but I want to teach people to have dialogue during conflict. That's the nice way of putting it. But it's teaching people how to fight fair. And I think those are good skills.
Earlier in your presentation, I thought I heard you say that the mind does not care about other people. And then later on you said we are social animals. And I'm perceiving a disconnection between those two things. Can you elaborate on that?
That's really good. That's really, really good. We are socially constructed human beings. My sense of self is shaped and misshaped and reshaped as a result of my experiences with human beings. My father shaped me, misshaped me, my mother, my siblings, my relationships. So in that way, we are social creatures. Our identity is voluminously shaped as a direct result of our interactions and transactions with people. Are we on the same page?
Yeah.
Okay. But the mind is not relational. Your mind is saying, guess what? What's your first name?
Chip.
Chip?
Mm-hmm.
Your mind says, okay, Chip, your mind, if you could hear what your mind says. Chip, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to hang on to all the bad stuff that ever happened to you. When you were rejected, excluded, or devalued. And guess what? I'm going to put that together, connect those three dots. You know what I come up with? People suck. Don't do people. Because whenever you do people, you're increasing the odds of getting rejected, excluded, or devalued. The mind is not relational. The mind is there to protect you. So the subtitle of the book, Who's in Control, You or Your Mind? So we have to override that. I have to choose to step into and kind of go, my instincts are telling me that I can be honest or fair with Chip right now. I'm choosing to override my mind's instinct. Because my mind is well aware that the worst things that ever happened to me is a direct result of my interaction with human beings.
So then what you're saying is that we have a dualism going on. We observe ourselves. I know there are religions, philosophies that take a position of oneness, where we have a lot of Eastern religions who reject the notion of dualism.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, it's a really good thought. I believe one of the best-selling books of all time, I'm going to come through the side door, one of the best-selling books of all time was written by Rick Warren, a pastor out of California. It was called A Purpose-Driven Life. Anybody read it? Is it in the library? Purpose-Driven Life?
It used to be.
Okay, it's
Sometimes things walk away, but it used to be.
Okay. It's a Calvinistic Christian book. It tells you how to get into heaven.
I can see.
And I always wondered how Rick Warren knows that. But anyway, he wrote the book, and it's popular. His book starts off phenomenally. It says, first line of the book, and then a new paragraph, it's not about you. That explains religion. It's not about you. So I wrote to Mr. Warren, because we were doing a discipleship class. Mr. Warren, we're studying it in our Methodist church. Everyone's really enjoying the book. Seems like we're learning a lot. Not sure if we're going down the right path, but that's a discussion for another day. Who is it about? It's not about you. who is it about? Now, Mr. Warren was way too busy, too successful to write me back, or maybe never got to his desk. It's about us. We're pluralistic, in my opinion. My philosophy is pluralism. I do believe it originates with you. There's a oneness about that. You have to. You're the center of your universe. Make no mistake about it. But who you are is a direct result of who you became as a result of your transactions with others. And that's the reason why so many of us get lost. Like, I work with people and they go, can you answer the question, who am I? Very philosophical, Socratic question. Who am I? Now, of course, I say, great question. Now, of course, I don't know the answer, who you are. And I don't care. You need to care. But I will help you. Instead of who am I will help you answer the question of who you always were meant to be. Let's get back to the person who you were always meant to be before the world did so much in the shaping of you. Now, I'm not sure if I directly answered your question or not, but I really do believe wholeheartedly our connections are vital for the restoration and the resurrection, if you're taking that metaphor too far, to the development and growth of enjoying yourself. So that you're in a much better place to be trusting, truthful, a committed soul who can experience intimacy with other human beings on planet Earth, basically spread the wealth.
Thanks.
Great questions. Great question. Anything else? Otherwise, thank you very much for allowing me to share some of my thoughts.
Thank you.
It's interesting how I get